Why Carroll O'Connor had problems with Rob Reiner on the All in the Family set. Carroll O'Connor was born on August 2nd, 1924 in Manhattan, New York City. His father, Edward Joseph O'Connor, was a well-respected lawyer, a smart man who believed strongly in education, doing your part in the community and working hard. His mother, Elise Patricia O'Connor, worked as a school teacher, bringing a love of learning and a clear sense of right and wrong into their home. Together, they created a house that valued talking, debating, humor, and a strong sense of who they were. Carroll grew up with two brothers, both of whom were really smart in school and went on to become doctors. Something terrible happened to the family when his brother Hugh was killed in a motorcycle accident. This loss deeply affected Carroll and stayed with him for the rest of his life. His other brother Robert became a psychiatrist and opened his practice in New York City, showing even more how the family believed in being smart and helping others. Growing up in a traditional Irish Catholic home, Carroll had what he later described as a mostly carefree childhood. His family lived in what people considered a comfortable, even wealthy neighborhood, and he didn't grow up needing anything. But from an early age, he showed signs of being independent and a little rebellious. He skipped kindergarten and started first grade at the age of 5, a decision that put him ahead in school, but made it hard for him to fit in with kids his age. Because of this, school was frustrating rather than fun. He often argued with teachers, didn't like strict rules, and had trouble doing what was expected. These early difficulties made him suspicious of big organizations and gave him a rebellious side that would later become important in his most famous roles. Though he was smart and good with words, he was often called difficult, and doing well in traditional school was hard for him for many years. Carroll signed up at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, but his education was soon interrupted when World War II started. Like many young men at that time, he felt it was his duty to serve his country. However, his grades and bad teeth led to him being rejected by the Naval Air Corps, which might have discouraged someone else. Instead, Carroll found another way to serve by joining the United States Merchant Marine Academy. As a merchant seaman, he experienced life at sea, discipline under pressure, and what was like during wartime. These years opened up his view of the world, made him tougher, and gave him first-hand experience with working-class men whose voices he would later bring to life so well on screen. After the war, Carroll went back to school at the University of Montana in Missoula, where his life took a big turn. It was there that he met Nancy Fields, the woman who would become his wife and lifelong partner. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, loving to learn and being emotionally strong. While at the university, Carroll worked as an editor for the student newspaper, improving his writing skills and learning how powerful words could be for persuading and telling stories. He also joined the Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity, which helped him develop his leadership skills and confidence around people. Despite these successes, his restless nature soon came back. He left the University of Montana and traveled to Ireland with his brother Hugh, reconnecting with where his family came from. Carroll finally finished his studies at University College Dublin, an experience that deeply influenced who he was and made him appreciate Irish culture, literature, and political ideas even more. Carroll's first real experience with the stage came in 1950, when he began appearing in theater productions in both Dublin and New York. These early performances let him experiment, improve his skills, and develop a powerful stage presence. An important moment in his career happened when actor and director Burgess Meredith noticed his talent and helped get him a role in an off-Broadway production of Ulysses. Meredith became both a teacher and a friend, and their relationship opened doors for Carroll when he was still struggling to find steady work. The stage taught him discipline, emotional honesty, and how important it was to prepare, lessons he used in every type of acting he later did. Carroll's move to television began with character roles on anthology programs, such as Sunday Showcase. These appearances marked the start of a long and steady career in television, where he quickly became known as a reliable and compelling actor. During the 1960s and early 1970s, he also appeared in an impressive number of studio films, often playing military officers, authority figures, or morally complicated supporting characters. His film credits included Lonely Are the Brave, Cleopatra, In Harm's Way, What Did You Do in the War, Daddy, Hawaii, Not With My Wife, You Don't, Warning Shot, Point Blank, The Devil Brigade, For Love of Ivy, Death of the Gunfighter, Marlowe, Kelly's Heroes, and Doctors' Wives. Though he was rarely the main star in these films, Carroll brought depth and realness to every role, earning the respect of directors and fellow actors. Despite his success in films, it was television that brought Carroll O'Connor widespread fame and lasting popularity. His breakthrough role came with the character of Archie Bunker on All in the Family. Archie was a loud, opinionated working-class father whose views were often controversial, outdated, and politically incorrect. Yet, Carroll gave the character humor, vulnerability, and humanity, turning what could have been a cartoon into a fully real person. The sitcom aired from 1971 to 1979 and was inspired by the British series Till Death Us Do Part. When Carroll was first asked to play Archie, he was living in Rome, and few could have predicted the cultural impact the role would have. Through Archie Bunker, Carroll helped start national conversations about race, politics, gender roles, and conflict between generations, changing what television comedy could do. Another important chapter in Carroll's career came within the heat of the night, in which he starred as Police Chief Bill Gillespie. The role showed a different side of his talent, measured, authoritative, and deeply thoughtful. During this time, Carroll was facing big personal challenges. He was trying desperately to help his son overcome a serious drug addiction, a struggle that weighed heavily on him. In an effort to support his son, Carroll even got him a role on the series. At the same time, Carroll had heart surgery, forcing him to miss 4 episodes toward the end of the second season. These hardships added emotional depth to the performance and showed his strength both on and off screen. Throughout his career, Carroll appeared in a remarkable variety of television series, including The Americans, The 11th Hour, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Fugitive, The Wild Wild West, Armstrong Circle Theater, The Outer Limits, The Great Adventure, The Man from UNCLE, Dr. Kildare, I Spy, That Girl, and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. These roles showed his versatility and made his reputation as one of television's most dependable and skilled character actors even stronger. Beyond acting, Carroll also made big contributions behind the scenes. He produced 61 episodes of In the Heat of the Night and directed 4 episodes of the series, having created control over its tone and direction. He also directed 9 episodes of Archie Bunker's Place, the sequel to All in the Family. Additionally, Carroll wrote several episodes of In the Heat of the Night, Archie Bunker's Place, and Bronx, showing his talents as a storyteller and his deep understanding of character-driven drama. Carroll O'Connor's life, so often remembered for its humor, intelligence, and moral weight on screen, was also marked by a deeply moving love story and a heartbreaking personal tragedy that shaped the man behind the roles. On July 28, 1951, while living in Dublin, Carroll married Nancy Fields, the woman who would become his steadfast partner for more than 4 decades. Their marriage was not just a small part of his life story, but the emotional anchor of his life. A relationship built on loyalty, shared values, and an unshakable devotion that lasted through the pressures of fame and the passage of time. Nancy was not only his wife, but his closest friend, protector, and emotional safe place, standing beside him through every triumph and every sorrow. In 1962, their happiness grew when they adopted a newborn baby boy whom they lovingly named Hugh, honoring Carroll's brother. The arrival of their son brought new purpose and joy into their lives. And Carroll embraced being a father with the same intensity and seriousness he brought to his work. Hugh was the center of their world, and Carroll's pride in his son was clear to see. Yet fate would test a family in ways no parent could ever prepare for. At just 16 years old, Hugh was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, a devastating blow that threw the O'Connor household into fear and uncertainty. Carroll and Nancy stayed beside their son, going through months of anxiety, treatment, and emotional exhaustion. Against the odds, Hugh fought bravely and ultimately beat the disease. A victory that should have marked the beginning of a hopeful new chapter. But the scars of that battle ran deeper than anyone realized. In the years that followed, Hugh struggled with drug addiction, a silent war that gradually consumed him despite his parents' love and desperate efforts to help. Tragically, Hugh's struggle ended in the most unimaginable way. Overcome by addiction, he took his own life, shattering Carroll O'Connor's world beyond repair. The loss left the actor utterly devastated, haunted by grief, guilt, and an overwhelming sense of unfairness. For Carroll, the pain was not abstract. It was raw, personal and never-ending. His sorrow soon turned into anger and a fierce desire for accountability, particularly toward a man he believed had supplied the drugs that destroyed his son. This tragedy would forever change Carroll's life, taking away any illusion that fame or success could protect a person from unbearable loss. Carroll O'Connor and Rob Reiner share one of the most electric and lasting relationships in American television history, but it was not always an easy one. On All in the Family, O'Connor's Archie Bunker and Reiner's Michael Meathead, Stivic were locked in constant battles about ideas, and that on-screen friction was fueled by a real generational and philosophical tension behind the scenes. O'Connor later made it clear that while he respected Reiner's talent, their differences were real and sometimes difficult to deal with. At the heart of the tension was a clash of generations and worldviews. O'Connor was a World War II veteran, deeply read in history and literature, and naturally respectful of hierarchy and professional boundaries. Reiner, more than 20 years younger, represented the outspoken, politically progressive youth culture of the late 1960s and early 1970s. O'Connor once explained that Rob was very young, very bright, and very sure what he believed, adding that Reiner didn't hesitate to challenge ideas on camera or off. To O'Connor, this confidence sometimes came across as impatience or a lack of respect, especially on a set where O'Connor carried enormous responsibility as the show's central figure. Politics also played a major role. All in the Family was groundbreaking precisely because it put opposing political philosophies into open conflict, but that did not mean the actors always left those debates at the studio door. Reiner was openly liberal and politically active, while O'Connor, though often mistaken for Archie Bunker himself, held more complex and sometimes conservative-leaning views. O'Connor was careful to say that Archie was a character, not his belief system. Yet, he admitted that Reiner's real-life convictions occasionally spilled into rehearsals. There were times when Rob's political passions were very close to the surface, O'Connor remarked, and while he admired Reiner's intelligence, he sometimes felt the discussions took attention away from the craft of acting. Another source of strain was the difference in experience and approach to the work. O'Connor was a classically trained actor who took enormous pride in preparation, discipline, and staying true to the script. He believed that comedy, especially the kind All in the Family was doing, required precision and restraint. Reiner, by contrast, was still learning his craft and was eager to experiment. O'Connor later said, "I was older. I was more set in my ways, and I took the job very seriously, sometimes more seriously than anyone else on the stage." He occasionally felt that Reiner's casual confidence didn't fully appreciate the pressure of carrying a show that millions of Americans watched every week. Ironically, the very tension that challenged him personally made the series better creatively. O'Connor admitted that Reiner's presence sharpened his own performance. The conflict between Archie and Meathead worked because it was real, he admitted, noting that Reiner never played Michael as a cartoon. Reiner pushed back, argued his point, and stood his ground, which forced O'Connor to dig deeper into Archie's contradictions. What might have been simple sitcom bickering became a layered exploration of class, politics, and family dynamics. Over time, mutual respect grew. O'Connor emphasized that any tension was professional, not personal. Rob was smart, committed, and absolutely right for the role, he said, adding that Reiner understood the importance of the show even when we didn't agree on everything. As Reiner matured and later moved into directing and producing, O'Connor watched his former co-star's success with pride.